19-year-old Destiny Arnold is suing the father of her child, 19-year-old Nicholas Mealy, for car repair costs and a cell phone bill.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 195 on the calendar in the matter of Arnold versus Mealy. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Arnold, I've read your complaint. The defendant is your former boyfriend. You have a child together.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you made a loan to him to have his car fixed. You want your money back. That was while you were living together. And that subsequent to your separating, you purchased cell phones. And he was supposed to pay his bill. He didn't pay his bill. You also want him to pay for his cell phone.
Yes.
The defendant says that the money that you did, in fact, give him to have his car fixed was just that, a gift, that he provided all the support for you and his child while you were living in an apartment together, that the phone was something that he purchased, and he paid for that, and he paid for the 1 month's worth of service that he actually used the phone, and then you shut the phone off. He has a counterclaim because he says that in April, at the time that the two of you separated, you had him falsely arrested for domestic violence, and he believes he should be compensated for the 27 hours that he spent in a police precinct. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
Okay. On what date, Mr. Mealy, were you arrested for domestic violence?
April 3rd, 2006.
And at that time, how long had you and Miss Arnold been living together?
We'd been living together for a little over a year.
Now, Miss Arnold, in the year that you were living together, you were living in an apartment. Is that right?
Correct. We lived in the apartment just from December to April.
And when was your child born?
January 24th, 2006.
Keep your voice up, please.
Okay.
So from the time you moved into the apartment, I assume, until the time that you separated in April, you were not working?
I had one job for about 2 weeks.
So you were not working?
No.
And Mr. Mealy was supporting the household?
Yes.
He was paying the rent?
Yes.
He was paying for food?
Yes.
He was paying the gas, electric, and utilities?
Yes.
Paid for the expenses of the baby at home?
Mostly.
Well, you didn't. So if...
No, but state helped.
How much did the state help?
I believe I got, well, right, as soon as I moved out, I got $440, and he has paid $1 towards child support in the last 3 months.
I'm not asking you that.
Okay.
I'm asking you from December until April.
Pretty much all of it.
So he paid for everything?
Yes.
And you put the car repairs on your credit card?
Part of them, yes.
$600 worth?
I put $210 down on my credit card, and I'm making payments for the rest.
How much in total?
I believe the total was $558.
$558. So for the 4 months that you lived together, your capital contribution was $558?
Yes.
That seem reasonable to you?
No, but I did have the baby.
So what? So did millions of other people, madam.
I just think it's kind of hard to work being 9 months pregnant. And...
You working now?
No.
Where are you living?
I just got a triplex with my boyfriend.
With your boyfriend?
Yes.
Well, you didn't just have a baby and you're not 9 months pregnant, so how come you're not working?
I am looking for a job.
Well, you've been looking for a long time. Your baby was born in January. So first your baby was born, then you had state aid, now you found another boyfriend to support you. Let's hear what happened in April on the 3rd, sir.
April of the 3rd, I picked Destiny up from Albertsons at the job she stated she did have for 2 weeks on her lunch break. I lived 1 block from the Albertsons that she worked at.
When you say you lived there, is that where you lived together?
No, she'd actually moved out.
Okay, so she moved out and you were picking her up from work anyway?
Yeah, she asked me to come and pick her up for lunch.
Okay.
And I did so. I went down and I picked Destiny up for lunch. I brought her to my apartment.
Where was the baby?
With her mother.
Okay, so you brought it to your apartment. Is that where she wanted to go?
Yes.
For what?
For lunch.
Okay.
And at that time, me and Destiny started arguing.
What were you arguing about?
We had a car that we purchased together, and Destiny's sister's ex-fiance was the dealer of that car, and he had not sent the stuff into the state, and Destiny went back to him and asked him to change it because she was going to leave me. And
you mean to change the title?
Change the title. And he
to her name?
He rewrote the whole title to her name.
When was the car purchased?
In November of 2005.
In November of 2005, where did the money come to purchase the car?
Destiny had a car previous to that. It was a Pontiac Grand Am. We sold that car and used that money to put the down payment for that car. I supported that car, and I paid for all the repairs, fixings. And
From November until April,
No, from when Destiny first moved out.
which was when?
In August 2005.
So from August 2005 until April,
Yes.
you made the payments on the car?
I made the insurance payments as well as the car repairs for both the Jeep and the Grand Am.
Who made the car payment?
Destiny had moved out and she used the state's aid for the car payment.
So you were both paying something for the car?
Correct.
Now I understand what the argument was about. You were annoyed that for whatever you put into the car, you were getting nothing.
Yes, and
Okay, fine. So that's what the argument was about. Now, what happened during the course of that argument? Because it escalated and the police were ultimately called.
Destiny also was selling my stuff on eBay.
What stuff?
Video game consoles. I had a very large collection of almost every game console, and
I don't know what that is.
the PlayStations, a Sega Saturn, and Destiny was selling on eBay. I then asked for Destiny's keys back. She said no.
You mean she was taking your property out of your house?
Yes.
Were you selling his property on eBay?
We both,
The answer is either yes or no.
technically, no. We both owned the game consoles. I had talked to him about this. We sold them on eBay, and we split the sharing.
Split the what?
We split the money that we received from it. He made a credit card payment, and I made a payment to Les Schwab from the tires that I bought for him.
I'm not talking about tires. I'm asking you whether you were selling his property on eBay.
I know. Technically, it was both of our property, and we split the money that we got from eBay.
So then there were arguments. So you asked for her keys back because you said she was taking stuff from your house.
Correct.
And she wasn't living there anymore.
Correct.
Good. Okay. And what happened when you asked for the keys back?
She denied me the keys and said that
What did she say?
she had more stuff inside the house. She wanted to move out. Her keys were then sitting on top of her purse. I pulled them out, and that's when Destiny grabbed for the keys back, and I refused to
Give them back.
Give them back.
Go ahead.
Destiny did scratch my arm. I had scratches on my arm, and that is in the police report. However, the police report would not be released to me.
Just listen to me. After you grabbed the keys, by the way, whose name is on the lease?
Mine.
And she had moved out when?
She moved out in July.
She moved out in July. She was still coming around in April?
Yes.
Is that right?
No.
When did you move out?
I moved out of the apartment in April.
When did you stop sleeping there?
In April.
Is that right?
Yes.
I thought you said she moved out in July.
It was the end of July, beginning of April. June.
Mr. Mealy, you want to go over the months again?
I have my months confused.
So you had not been sleeping in the apartment. You already broke up.
Yes.
Is that right? And you moved out, and you moved in with your mother.
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You told the police that he probably scratched himself to get you in trouble.
I wasn't sure what had happened. I did not recall touching him at all.
That's too bad.
And later today,
What she's telling me, sir, is that she actually did break the equipment, in so many words. She said, well, it started to fall, and I sort of helped it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Destiny Arnold claims the father of her child, Nicholas Mealy, owes for car repair costs and a cell phone bill. Nicholas is countersuing, claiming Destiny had him falsely arrested for domestic violence.
Now, when you had this argument over the keys, you say that she scratched you.
Yes.
Did you touch her?
I pushed her hands away off of scratching me, yes.
Who called the police?
I did. We both did.
Who called the police first?
I did.
And where was she when you called the police?
She was outside, standing by her car.
How did you get outside?
When he ripped my purse from my hands to get my keys, I told him I was going to call the police. I ran to the next door neighbor and nobody was home. When I ran back into his apartment to grab my purse off the counter where he had put it, he was on the phone with the police telling them that I was hitting him and pushing him. So I grabbed my purse and my phone and I walked outside to the parking lot and I called the police.
So he called the police first?
Yes.
Did you have any visible marks or bruises on you?
No, ma'am.
You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
That.
What happened, Miss Arnold, when you went to the neighbor's house?
Nobody was home.
What did you go to the neighbor's house for?
To call the police. He had taken my phone and my purse from me.
What were you calling the police about?
He had ripped my purse from me. And
So you were calling the police because he took your purse?
Yes.
Miss Arnold, you weren't honest with the police.
Yes, I was.
No, you weren't. According to the police officer, you said that he assaulted you. That's not true.
He ripped...
That's not true.
Okay.
He did not assault you. He did not assault you. He took your purse because he wanted the keys. Not a smart thing to do, but he did not assault you. And the police officer noted scratch marks on him, nothing on you.
Correct.
I have no idea why he was arrested. And you told the police that he probably scratched himself to get you in trouble.
I wasn't sure what had happened. I did not recall touching him at all.
Well, that's going to be an expensive fib and an expensive scratch, Miss Arnold.
I really don't remember touching him.
That's too bad. I believe him.
Okay.
And I believe that it's an unfortunate breakup. She used her influence with the dealership to change the title to a car, which she knew you had an interest in. According to the police, she acknowledged to the police that she destroyed the sales agreement, which listed you as a co-owner of the car, and had the papers changed because that was what the dispute was about. You know, if things don't work out, Miss Arnold, they don't work out. But you're supposed to be fair and reasonable. I don't think you were fair and reasonable at all. So that's going to cost you. So I don't even have to deal with your claim. You're not supposed to make false reports about people. There's no question in my mind that if he had assaulted you and you went to a neighbor's house because you wanted your pocketbook back, if he had assaulted you, you would not have gone back into the apartment. You would have gone yet to another neighbor. But certainly if one is in fear of their life or their physical situation, they don't go back to the same environment. They leave. You chose not to do that. You chose to go back, which suggests to me you weren't in fear. You knew he wasn't going to hit you. You knew he wasn't going to put his hands on you. Yeah. And the only reason, put your hand down, and the only reason you called the police is because when you came into the apartment, he was on the phone with the police.
He is an abusive man. He has taped the binky into our daughter's mouth. My mom had seen him push
Listen to me. Stop making up stories. Sounds to me as if however old you are. How old are you, 20?
18.
18. Well, you already have a baby with one man. You moved in with your mother. Now you moved into another apartment with yet a new boyfriend. Sounds to me your life is going in a downward spiral. I suggest you fix it.
Okay.
Judgment on the counterclaim for the amount of $2,000. Your claim is subsumed by the counterclaim, which means it's taken care of by the counterclaim. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He will not see her. He will not have any contact with her.
They can say what they want and lie about what they want.
I will be going to get full custody.
Those are just comments.
And I know he will never see his child again.
I plan to get a lawyer and see my daughter.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Torres versus Briley. Step forward.
Music producer Clifton Torres is suing the mother of his children, Brandy Briley, for destroying his music equipment. Brandy claims the equipment was broken prior to the incident in question.
Mr. Torres, you and Miss Briley had a relationship, according to what I read, and I assume that you lived together for a period of time. It is your claim that a year ago she ruined some of your musical equipment. You want her to pay so that you can purchase new equipment.
That's correct.
Miss Briley said that while the equipment that you are complaining about was in fact tossed over during this altercation, the altercation occurred because you pushed her and the equipment wasn't working so well to begin with. I have a few questions. You have children?
Yes, 2.
Are they your children together?
Yes.
How old are they?
2 and 5.
Who do they live with?
They live with me.
And how long have they lived with you? Alone?
Alone?
Without the defendant?
I guess approximately a year, maybe a little less.
Did they live with you, Mr. Torres, pursuant to a court order?
Yes.
Was there a contested custody proceeding?
No.
Ms. Briley agreed for you to care for the children?
Correct.
Now tell me the date of this incident with your music equipment, please.
It was November 21st, and I came home from work. It was 5:30.
What kind of work were you doing?
At the time, I was working at a construction warehouse.
Could you keep your voice up, Mr. Torres?
I was working at a construction warehouse, and I came home at like about 5:30, and we had gotten into an argument.
About what?
Just about living arrangements, personal stuff, you know. We just had a lot of, disagreements about things.
Okay.
And the verbal argument turned kind of physical, pushing and shoving and whatnot. And as I left to leave, that's when the equipment was damaged. As I turned, because I was just trying to leave. As I turned to leave, I heard a smash on the floor. I turned around, and my equipment was on the floor, destroyed.
But it did not fall as a result of the altercation.
No, it happened after the altercation.
It happened when you were exiting.
Directly after. As I'm trying to leave, that's when it happened.
All right, Miss Briley, tell me about it.
Basically, he came home, we got in a disagreement.
You remember what the disagreement was about?
Our living arrangements and personal problems.
What does that mean?
We were just disagreeing on lots of different things. Like, for the most part, it was our living arrangements. But as he pushes me back because he doesn't want to listen to what I have to say.
Well, he's coming home from work. You're home all day. Is
yes,
that right?
Yes.
You're home all day with 2 children.
Yes.
2 very small children,
Yes.
right? Do you ever have any drug or alcohol problem?
No.
Never.
No.
You hesitated for a moment.
Well, I have drank before, but I've never had a problem with it.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, he pushes me back. I go to get my balance on the stand where the NPC equipment was, and it goes to slide off. And I did help it go to the ground. Like, I didn't try and catch it or anything, but my main argument is it was already broken before any of that ever happened.
Tell me about it already being broken before.
Well, as you know, I stay at home every day, so I did all the cleaning, and it had been in the box for a period of time. And I know he said he wasn't using it for a while, so I would assume it wasn't working.
Well, you can't make any assumptions, so you don't know that it wasn't working.
From what I understood from him, it wasn't.
Did you ever tell her the equipment wasn't working?
No, I have a picture of the equipment. It actually, it was actually in the box. I have a picture of the box.
Can I see it, please?
It's basically a piece of equipment that's used in the preliminary stages of music production. It basically makes the outlining beat, and from there it goes into a computer.
So what she's telling me, sir, is that she actually did break the equipment, because that's what she said in so many words. She said, well, it started to fall, and I sort of helped it.
Well,
What kind of work do you do, Miss Briley?
I work with the developmentally disabled at a day treatment program.
How much money do you earn?
Is that relevant?
Yes. Anything I ask is relevant.
How would you like it then? Weekly?
Weekly,
hourly,
bi-weekly, however
monthly?
you're paid.
I make about $2,000 a month after taxes.
How much do you pay in child support?
Currently, I don't pay child support. I assist with getting their needs. Like, I went school shopping for my son. I help buy diapers. Like,
Mr. Torres,
Yes,
you are the full-time custodial parent of these children?
that's correct.
You're supposed to collect child support for them. Do you understand that, sir?
Your Honor, when we made the agreement for custody or whatnot, there was a verbal agreement, basically, that she was going to help out in certain things, and I wasn't supposed to receive child support for 6 months, so...
6 months is now passed, sir.
Right.
So?
It was a couple months before we got into court, before we made that agreement, and it's been almost 6 months since then, so it hasn't been exactly 6 months.
Well, what I'm telling you, Mr. Torres, is it is not your right to have a support order fixed for your children.
Right.
It is the children's right to have a child support order fixed for them.
Right.
Support order.
I'm in the process. I go back on the 28th. We go back to court, so...
Fine. Do you have a bill for this equipment, sir?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
I actually have I'll just give this all to you. I have a police report, and I have, I don't have the receipt because it was purchased in about 2001. I do have an ad for the same exact equipment. It's pretty much almost exactly identical.
Let me see it.
You'll be able to see that for yourself. I brought it to get looked at a shop, and they basically rendered it, irreparable because the motherboard, the internal CPU board is cracked due to the fall.
Did you get a protective order, Mr. Torres?
I had one at one time, but it was disengaged.
Was it as a result of this?
No, it was something that happened prior to, before that.
How much did you pay for the equipment, sir?
$2,400.
Well, you can replace it for $1,700, correct?
That's correct. That's not exactly the identical model because
May
it's,
not be,
it's a
but
vintage
it's also
model.
5 years ago.
I understand.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Healthcare worker Christine Barros is suing her former friend, research supervisor Nicole Duquette, for the unauthorized use of a cash card. Nicole is countersuing for harassment.
Yeah, this is case number 106 on the calendar in the matter of Barrios versus Duquette. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Barrios, Ms. Duquette used to be a very dear friend of yours.
Yes.
And it is your claim that she stole $600 from you.
Yes.
She says she did not. She is counterclaiming because she said since this incident you've embarked upon a course of harassing her, and she is counterclaiming for several $1,000s. So why don't you tell me the circumstances surrounding her taking your money?
It was April 1st. It was about 8:30. I was downtown running some errands.
8:30 in the morning?
In the morning. I had withdrawn $160, $100 which I owed to the defendant. She called me and asked me what I was doing for the day. I said running errands. Why? She said she really needed to see me. She wanted to talk. She needed to escape. And I said, well, you can come pick me up. She came and picked me up in front of the Greyhound station downtown Sacramento, and we got in the car.
In her car?
In her car.
Had you planned on seeing her?
I had planned on seeing her at some point.
Okay, and that's when you were going to give her the money?
Yeah.
What did you borrow the money for?
It wasn't even a matter of me borrowing. It was for gas, her taking me places, and her...
So you don't have a car?
I don't have a car. She takes me places. She was a very helpful friend.
Okay, fine. So now she came down, she picked you up at the Greyhound station. What happened?
She said she needed to run some errands. Immediately, as soon as I got into the car, I handed her the $100. Immediately.
So far, is that right?
No.
She didn't give you the $100?
No, she didn't.
Okay. Go ahead.
We went to Kmart. She needed to run some errands. She needed some cotton balls, some lotion, some shampoo. When we got that, we called her friend, who happens to be here, went and saw him for a few minutes, went to lunch in Fair Oaks, down by the river, sat there for a little while, spoke some more, got back in the car, dropped off her friend.
Which friend?
That would be Franklin.
It would be you. Okay.
Dropped him off, and she kept asking me if there was anything I needed to do before I went home. And I said, well, I do have to stop at the bank and get the money to pay my phone bill. At a certain point, she allowed...
Why didn't you take out that money when you went earlier that day?
Because I have a tendency to take money and spend it when I don't need to. So I only take the money out when needed. And the money that I had taken out that morning, I had spent the majority of it, so I didn't have enough to cover for my phone bill.
Okay, so you were going back to the bank?
Yep, we were headed back to the bank.
And Ms. Duquette took you back to the bank?
Actually, I was driving her car. She wasn't feeling very well. She allowed me to drive, knowing I don't have a license.
You were driving, you drove back to your bank?
Yes. When I proceeded to take off my seatbelt to go and take out the money, she said, no, I'll go do it. You're driving today, so I'll take it out for you. Not a problem.
Okay, just a second. So what did you do? You gave her your PIN number?
She's had my PIN number. She's had my PIN number because the card is used for cash aid and food stamp aid, and she would, on certain occasions, take my oldest daughter to the supermarket, and they'd use my PIN to get food with food stamps.
So she had your PIN number?
Mm-hmm.
And she went to the bank and withdrew some money?
Yes.
How much did you tell her to withdraw?
The $60 from my phone.
And she came back and gave you?
A receipt for $60. And we got in the car. I drove to pay my phone bill, and there we switched. She got into the driver's seat. I got into the passenger side. She asked me if there was anything else I needed to do. I said, no, not really. She said, well, I got to go home.
When did you ascertain that more money was taken out of the...
The following morning, Your Honor. I get my cash aid on the 1st, and I get my food stamp aid on the 2nd. And it was the last of the month, so I needed to see if we had the food stamps were in the account so I can go buy some groceries before I went out and did some errands. And it gives you the cash account balance and the food stamp balance at the same time. My cash account balance came up to $39.12. And now my heart stopped and it froze immediately. That was like 7:45 the following morning, April 2nd.
Okay, so that's the money. That $600 is what you say Ms. Duquette took from your account.
Absolutely.
Without your approval. I never gave it to you. And Ms. Duquette says, of course, that she took out that money and handed it all to you. Okay. Can I see the receipt from the bank, please?
You want to see it all right now, or
just I want to see that day, okay. April 1st. And do you have the receipt that she gave you for $60?
No, I don't. I'd like to make a note. You see that there's three transactions, 60, 0, and 600. Mm-hmm. The one for 0, she had tried to withdraw $700.
Shh. Doesn't say that here. Well, it's certainly clear that on the 1st of April, there was one withdrawal for $60. And then there was another attempt to withdraw some money. And then there was a third attempt successfully within a minute, and $600 was taken out. Okay. Now I'll hear you.
On that morning, I did pick her up. What happened was she owed me $50. She gave me $100 out of the $660 that I withdrew. That day, I had not known her ATM PIN code. Whenever I took her kids to the store, they had cash. I never knew the PIN number. She gave it to me that morning. I pulled the money out. I gave her the money when I got in the car.
Okay. So you acknowledge that you took out the money?
Yes.
And it is your claim that you gave her the money?
Yes, I did.
Could you explain to me why there were 3 separate attempts to take out money?
Because she originally wanted me to pull out $700.
Yes.
So I took the 60 out. She wanted to keep her transactions separate. She said make 2 transactions because she always lost money. That day, she had just lost her ATM card. I had to take her back to the bank because she left it in the ATM machine.
I still don't understand, Ms. Duquette, why, if she asked you to take out $700, you withdrew $60, and then a minute later you tried to withdraw another amount of money, and then a minute later you withdrew $600. Shh.
That money was not an issue because she gave me money all the time.
Oh, no, listen, you're not listening to me, madam. You just testified that she wanted you to take out $700.
Yes.
Why didn't you take out the $700?
She wanted me to take out 60 separate, 700 separate. It would not let me take out 700. That is why I end up taking out 600.
So what kind of a discussion did you have when you got back into the car?
She counted her money. She gave me $100. We went to the store, drove around for a little while, and I took her home.
Just a second. And that's all that happened?
Yes.
You mean she didn't say to you, I asked you to take out 700, and you said to her, I tried to take out 700, but I couldn't because the bank wouldn't let me take out the 700?
Well, as soon as I got in the car and I handed her her money and her receipts, I said it wouldn't let me take out 600.
Well, you
so
left that out.
Got.
Miss Duquette, you left that out, madam. We're in a courtroom situation. I have to decide which of you two ladies is telling me the truth. Whether Miss Berrios, who missing a few screws by giving somebody their PIN number. I wouldn't give my kids one of my PIN numbers. For sure, I wouldn't give one of my kids my PIN number. You have children?
Oh, you know I do.
Anybody ever get your PIN number?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You couldn't breathe. You couldn't catch your breath. You were overwhelmed. You realized that I don't expect to hear from you, so keep your mouth shut.
And later today...
You didn't turn anybody away because her daughter was there?
No, I didn't.
So what are you suing her for? Why are you wasting your time?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christine Barrow says former friend Nicole Duquette stole money from her bank account. Nicole is denying the charge.
Now, I read your complaint very carefully. You confronted her about this the next day. Tell me what happened. Tell me what happened when you confronted her, Ms. Berrios.
Okay, that morning I called to see if my food stamps were available.
You told me all of that.
Okay.
You got that. You couldn't breathe. You couldn't catch your breath. You were overwhelmed. You realized that you had $30 left in your account and the other money was gone and you didn't have it.
Absolutely.
So you picked up the phone and you called her.
I picked up the phone at 9:30 and called her. And I said, Nicole, tell me that you took out the money because you were afraid that I was going to spend it for the rent. In that case, I can just go pick it up, put it in a money order, and come pay my rent. And she's like, well, what are you talking about? I'm like, what do you mean, what am I talking about? You took out money yesterday that you weren't supposed to, and I'm hoping and praying that it was for that purpose only, because she's always been a good friend. And she said, I don't know what you're talking about.
Shh. I'm going to get to you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So she got on the phone. I asked her, after I said, no, I have the proof. You made 3 transactions at the bank while I was sitting in the car in the driver's seat. I've already got the times, the amounts. I need to know where my money is. That's my rent money. And she says, oh, well, you know, I thought I'd have it back to you by tonight. I said, well, do you mind? I said, do you mind if I know what you took the money for? I mean, that's none of your business. And I said, well, Nicole, what's going to happen? She goes, I'm gonna have the money for you before you have to pay the rent. I said, Nicole, it's the 2nd of the month. My rent is due on the 5th. It's $832. You just took 3/4 of my rent money.
So what happened?
She said, I'll call you later. I'm at work. Did not hear from her that afternoon. Called once. They told me she had left early. I don't call her home phone because of her companion, her partner. Don't want any trouble. That Monday, I called her at work. I didn't get to speak to her until later on that afternoon, and all she said, I gotta go, I gotta go. The next day, which is Tuesday, she left me a voicemail, which has since erased. It said, I'm at my friend's house. He's gonna loan me $1,000 so I can give you your money. I'll be at the house.
Listen to me. Voicemails shouldn't get erased if they acknowledge a debt.
I know. I didn't know.
So then don't repeat it. So then listen to me. Don't repeat it to me.
Okay. Well, that afternoon she says, well, my friend didn't come through for me. I'm going to see if I can go sell my car rims.
Okay. And is what you're telling me that these conversations never took place?
Never.
Okay. Now, let's get to your allegation of harassment. When did the harassment start, Mr.
On April 8th. The day of my girlfriend's mother's memorial, she called my house acting like she was a private detective.
Okay.
It was a man that called, which sounded like a young man, according to her, who answered the phone.
So you didn't take this conversation?
No.
Somebody else did. Step up. Tell me your name.
Esther Henry.
All right, Miss Henry, you took a telephone call on the 8th of April.
Yes, I took several telephone calls.
Did you make any phone calls April 8th?
Nope, not to her house phone. Absolutely not.
Okay. Did you know who had made those phone calls?
At first, I didn't. It was the day of my mom's memorial.
Okay, so you don't know who did.
At first.
Just for my own information, what did the person say?
Okay, on the first call, It was a younger voice, but kind of disguised, and he said, I'm detective from the police department. Is Nicole here? So I'm like, no, she's not here. Can I take a message? And he said no, and then he hung up. Then he called back. Different voice this time. And in the background is F this, F that. Is Nicole there? Is Nicole there? No, she's not. Then a lot of harassment, cussing on the phone. You better get her. She's in for it, you know, and all this stuff. And
what was it? Just a second. What do you think that was about, Miss Henry?
I don't have a clue.
Okay. Anything else you have to testify to?
Yes. Then the third call, the plaintiff outright said who she was.
Yes.
This is Christina.
Yes.
Is Nicole there? And I said no. Well, she owes me some money, and I want my money. She told me she was going to pay me back. She didn't pay me back yet, and I want my money. If she doesn't give me my money, then I'm going to call the police. And I'm like, okay, well, can I take a message down and, you know, tell her?
That was the message. Just as what part of what she said didn't you understand? Listen to me. That was the message. She said it's the 8th of April. She's supposed to pay me back some money. If she doesn't pay me back the money, I'm going to the police. That's what she said.
Yes.
So you understood the message.
When I say message, I'm like a phone number so she can call you back. I got that part of the message.
I got it too.
I did.
Anything else you want to tell me?
No, that was about it.
Perfect. Sit down.
I even have an email here from her. This is not the first time that this has happened. I've known her since 2001. She worked at my job.
Okay.
She was trying to have a relationship with me, and that was her way of trying to get me by giving me money all the time.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. So, Ms. Duquette, listen to me very carefully. Is what you're saying to me that she was trying to endear herself to you by being generous with you with money?
In fact, she even offered.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that in the past you had, in fact, taken money from her. In the past, you had taken money from her. Did she ever complain about it?
No, because I always did something
just a
for
second.
her.
Did she ever complain about it?
No.
How long have you been with Miss Henry?
For a few years.
And I don't expect to hear from you until I'm looking at you, so keep your mouth shut. So far, you're not losing. Can you tell me why you think, after somebody had been generous with you, given you money in the past, why she would say that you stole the money this time? Unless maybe she's having a psychotic attack, is that right?
Well, she was on medication.
Oh, okay. I don't buy it, Mr. Duquette. I think you took the money and you thought maybe you could get it back to her, or you thought this is somebody who really had a thing for you and you would get away with it. You took the money out of her account and you did not give it to her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all. Your counterclaims dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm excited because she was trying to come in here with an ammunition of false information.
A lot of the reasons why I got money from her was because I did favors for her.
I trusted her.
Now all of a sudden she's a scorned woman because she wanted something that she couldn't have.
She bonded with all 4 of my children, and she's nothing but a liar.
I helped her get a backbone.
She always said, you know what? Be a woman about yourself. Being a woman about myself now, aren't I?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Powell versus Meth-Forest. Step forward, please.
Child care provider LaWandria Powell is suing her former client, teacher Betty Meffors, for unpaid babysitting fees. Betty claims LaWandria coerced her 14-year-old daughter into signing a contract.
Ms. Powell, you are a child care provider, and according to you, the defendant owes you some money for taking care of her child.
Yes.
The defendant says she paid you what was agreed, not a penny more. How long have you been a child care provider?
I received my license on January 5th of this year.
And you take care of children in your home or outside?
In my home.
How many children?
I'm licensed to take care of 8.
What age group?
Newborn to 12.
How many people work for you?
Just myself.
You can take care of 8 children by yourself in your house?
No, I never have 8 all at one time. The majority of the kids that I keep are in school, so they're in and out.
When were you contacted by the defendant?
We met on August 23rd at a Jump Start program where both our 5-year-olds were to start kindergarten. And she made the statement that she needed assistance with child care or her daughter wasn't going to be able to attend school. And I was sitting in front of her. I turned around and told her that I am a licensed provider, and I gave her one of my pens with my information on it.
You have a 5-year-old?
Yes.
Boy or girl?
Girl.
Did there come a time when Miss Meffors?
Yes.
Brought her daughter to your facility?
Yes.
When was that?
That same day. We made arrangements for her to come around 11:30 that day.
When did she start your program?
Not until September the 13th, when the older kids were going back to school.
Did she sign a contract?
Yes, she did.
I'd like to see it, please.
Do you want all of the paperwork or just the contract?
Just the contract. Did you sign this contract?
No, Your Honor. I did not sign any contract with this woman. I only had verbal agreement on the phone.
Who signed this contract?
Her or her daughter. But it was her that was supposed to have signed it because she gave me the paperwork.
Who signed this, you or your mother?
I did, Your Honor.
Stand up. When did you sign it?
I signed this today, the first day when my sister first started.
Your sister's first day?
Yeah.
Your daughter was there for 4 days, and you paid her $50.
Yes.
And you say she should have paid you $65 for the 4 days.
My contract states $65. She asked me, could she pay me $50?
Just a minute. So you told her she could pay you $50?
Yes.
Fine. And she paid you $50?
She paid me $50.
So why are you here? What do you want?
In my contract, it states that she's to pay me the first and last week.
How many children did you have in your facility on September 13th?
Just her daughter at that time.
The reason you want first and last and 2 weeks' notice is because you say in this contract, and you're not sure who signed this contract, that space is limited, and in order to ensure that you don't turn somebody else away, you have to give notice.
Yes.
But you didn't have anybody else there. You didn't turn anybody away because her daughter was there?
No, I didn't.
So what are you suing her for? Why are you wasting your time?
Because my contract states that she has to pay first and last.
Madam, you have no written contract with her because you don't know who signed this contract. You have, at best, an oral contract.
My understanding was that she signed the contract. She never told me that her daughter didn't sign.
You babysat for 4 days. You got paid for 4 days. There's no reason for you to be here. You should spend your time and devote your time to your business, not for suing people. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Daniel Roadcap is suing his ex-wife, Dorothy Adams, for unpaid loans and for stealing property from their home.
All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Roadcap versus Adams. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Roadcap, this is your former wife.
Yes, ma'am.
You have been divorced for how long, sir?
Since August of 2004.
And you have one child?
Yes.
A daughter?
Yes.
And that child is currently living with you?
Yes.
After a protracted custody dispute?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Correct.
This is your claim. You claim that subsequent to the divorce, you made 2 loans to your wife. You want those 2 loans repaid.
Yes.
You also claim that when she moved out of a house that you own, she took property that did not belong to her.
Correct.
She had been living in a house that you purchased at some point after the divorce in order to give your wife and daughter a home. She had what you term a rent-to-buy situation with the home.
Correct.
She was supposed to make the payments on the mortgage. Subsequently, you claim that she failed to maintain the house. You took possession of the house, and when she moved out, she took property from the house of certain appliances and things that belonged to you.
Correct.
Your former wife says that you did, in fact, make 1 loan to her for some bills. That loan was repaid with certain small cash payments and a pool table that she gave you in exchange for the rest of the money. The second loan that you made to her was really not a loan, which was something that had to do with the line of credit that you had on the house. And since now you have the house, it's your problem. And the property that was taken from the house was hers. That's your defense?
Yes.
Okay. When was the first loan and why, Mr. Roadcap?
The first loan was in November of 2005, and it was for $1,855, and it was because she had gotten
behind in her bills.
She had just resigned from the job that she had.
Did she call you?
Yes.
And what did she say when she called you?
She needed money to catch up on some of the bills and to get the kids Christmas gifts.
What arrangements did you make for repayment?
She had notified me that when she got her tax check back at the first of the year, that she would pay me in full then.
What happened when you got your tax check back, Miss Adams?
That wasn't the agreement at all. The $2,000 that I had borrowed from Daniel, he actually got it from a separate line of credit that he had for a bank that he used, or
don't make things more complicated than they are. You borrowed $2,000. He says $1,855. You say $2,000.
Those are two separate loans, Your Honor.
I'm talking about the $1,855 loan.
The $1,855 came from that home equity line of credit. I paid that every month myself. That was part of our rent-to-own agreement for the house. That was actually my bill. It was never meant to be repaid to him. I paid that $130 a month for as long as I lived in the home.
Just a second. $1,855 in November of 2005. And you say that you totally paid for that loan from your home equity line of credit on the house.
Completely paid for. I paid it, well, I paid 7 payments. He knows of 5 payments I paid on it. So he's actually asking for $1,833 when he knows that I paid at least 5 of those payments already.
Well, just show me.
I don't have that with me.
Well, this is where you need it, madam. This is where you need it. This is court. This is what you're coming for. All you have to do is show me that after November 5th, on this revolving line of credit that you had, you made payments. Show me.
If he has, I don't know.
Not he, your check.
Well, there should be some kind of proof to saying when is the last payment I paid on the house.
Miss Adams.
I don't have that.
Miss Adams, all I want are your checks.
I don't have it with me.
Well, it's unfortunate. $1,855. When was the next loan?
That was at the end of November, which was 11/28, and that was $2,000.
What was that for?
That was, I didn't have the money all at once, so I had to isolate and get 2 different loans. Here's the copies of the checks.
She acknowledges that you gave her that money, $3,855. How much was repaid?
She made $80. She made December and January, so it was 2 payments made on the $80, and the home equity line of credit was late January, February, and not at all in March, and she tried to make it again late in April, and it was too late then. By then, the home equity line of credit was already, she defaulted.
She made 2 payments, is that correct?
On the $2,000, yes, ma'am.
What about on the $1,855?
She made 3 payments.
So that's 5 altogether of
yes,
$160. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, what else?
At the time, we had a property agreement that she had to rent to own. She defaulted on her contract, so at that time, I took over the payments, and she had till June the 1st to get the house and everything in her name, and she did not do that. So July the 1st, she had to move out, which I asked her if she didn't want to move out, she could have rented it, but she chose not to. At that point, she left July the 1st, and she left the house like this.
Can I see it, please?
I took 8 truckloads of trash out of the house. It is a...
There was nothing left in the house when I moved out of the house.
Including the refrigerator and stuff.
Shh. How many children do you have, Miss Adams?
I have 3 children.
Only one of them is yours?
Correct.
How old are the other 2 children?
My oldest will be 13 this month, and I have a 10-year-old son.
Are they living with you?
Not at this time.
Who do they live with?
Well, my oldest daughter, for about 6 months now, has lived with her father in California. And, my son, I guess he is with my mom since Daniel took the house.
Okay, the house is a mess. Who bought the appliances?
I did. Here's the receipts for them. I
Your
have
Honor.
2 receipts.
Can I see the
I have 2 receipts because I can't measure, and I had to take 1 refrigerator back. It didn't fit. So I have...
And Your Honor,
glass top stove.
I also have a copy here of the refrigerator I purchased when I bought the house. The house was brand new. It didn't have appliances in it when I first bought it, or got it from him. And
it had no
I had
appliances.
to purchase those things.
Just a second. It had no appliances? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, it didn't have refrigerators. It did have a stove, which was accidentally taken from the movers on the last day. I've mentioned to Daniel that he can go get it. It's in the storage building. He doesn't want that. He'd much rather keep me in court over and over again.
Just a second. Why did you take the stove if you didn't buy it?
I had told the movers, it was just some friends of mine, I wasn't there that day, I told them to go get the refrigerators and the washer and dryer, and they just took the stove.
Well, that was a mistake.
Yes, and I have it, and I've told him he can go get it.
He doesn't have to go get it. Why should he have to go through the expense of going to get it?
It's right there in town, where, like, just a couple blocks from where I live.
Well,
he has a big truck, I don't, and he and I was friends this whole time, and until May, when I got married, Daniel and I was friends. All these agreements was made with us being friends. That's why I don't have documentation of this and that and this and that.
Well, what happened, Miss Adams, is that you got married in May and planned to move with your daughter and his daughter to another state.
My husband's in the military.
I don't care whether he is in the military or he's in the circus. You can't take his child away.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't want to discuss with me why you, who have 3 children, don't have any of them living with you, do you? And it's not because he took your house away.
And later today,
Alcohol basically has ruined his life. As a matter of fact, he has 4 DUIs. 1 was on a 4-wheeler.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daniel Roadcap claims ex-wife Dorothy Adams owes for loans and for taking his property from their shared home. Dorothy says Daniel is angry over her new marriage.
When did you tell him that you were planning to move to Georgia? When did she tell you?
About May 2nd.
And when was the move going to take place?
I had no idea. It was very discreet.
When was the move to take place?
Well, my husband's still
just give me a date.
It'll be after January of this year before I could even possibly move. He's still in AIT.
When were you planning to move?
That's what I gave him, an indefinite, like way back, like several months from then.
Is that right? What did she tell you?
I had no idea. She was in a separate relationship, and they broke up April 24th.
Yeah.
At May 15th, she was married to another guy I had never met, my daughter had never met, and she said that she was going to be moving out of state.
Your Honor, the reason why Daniel didn't know of my new marriage and of my expectations and what I was planning on getting from that is because these are his legal records showing that Daniel is not Mr. Sweet Kind, here, let me help you out here. He's got assault and battery. He's got shoot and throw missiles at an occupied vehicle.
I don't care, madam. Listen to me. It has nothing to do with this. You don't want to discuss with me why you, who have 3 children, don't have any of them living with you, do you?
No, but this is why I wanted to get out of the state.
Listen to me. And it's not because he took your house away. I mean, if you have 3 children, somebody takes your house away, you don't let your children go someplace else with your mother, with their other father. You go to a shelter someplace. You get a job and you get an apartment. So we don't have to go into history. The only issue that I have before me is whether you owe him this money and whether you took the refrigerator and the stoves that he purchased. And why, after what apparently was a reasonable period between the 2 of you having been divorced, he had a house, you were in the house with your 3 children, you needed money, you called him, he loaned you money, there was no problem. Problem was when you married somebody that he didn't know and you told him you're taking your kids and you're moving hundreds of miles away. And he said, what, are you crazy? You're not going to take my daughter. You may take your other 2 children. Their fathers may not care, but you're not taking my daughter away. And then you got angry, and you left the house like a trash bin, and you took property that didn't belong to you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Until I come up with something, you know, concrete against him, I'm just going to keep on doing this.
It's not the fact that she cares, it's just the fact that she's all out for herself.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Leonard versus Calvert. Step forward, please.
Carol Leonard is suing her ex-fiancé, Brian Calvert, for wrecking a 4-wheel ATV when he drove it drunk. Brian claims the bike had a malfunction.
Miss Leonard, you and Mr. Calvert were in a relationship. You met at work, according to your complaint. Shortly after you met, Mr. Calvert wanted to buy a 4-wheeler. And according to you, he got drunk?
Yes, he did.
He took out the 4-wheeler? He wrecked it?
Correct.
And since it was purchased on your credit, you're stuck with it?
Correct.
Mr. Calvert has an interesting defense. First, he says that you bought it for him.
No.
He merely helped to make the payments on it because he was a nice guy. And if I don't believe that story, then it's really your fault that he wrecked the bike because the bike had a recall notice that was in your mail that you didn't tell him about. And since he almost got killed, it was your fault that he's got $8,000 worth of medical bills because if you had told him about the recall notice, he would have taken the bike in to have it checked. That's his defense. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Miss Leonard, when did you and Mr. Calvert start to have a relationship?
The beginning of August 2005.
And when did you buy these wheelers?
August 19th.
Of 2005?
Yes.
Well, tell me about the conversation that you had. You knew him for a couple of weeks.
Well, I had a business relationship with him before that. And then I did start dating him. And he said he wanted to buy the 4-wheeler. We call them bikes. But his log home hadn't sold yet. It was going to sell in September. And he said if I bought it, he would have it for my birthday. My birthday's August 31st. And then he would pay me for it when his log home sold.
What do you mean he would have it for your birthday? So he was giving it to you as a birthday present?
No, we were going to go. They're actually a lot of fun to ride in West Virginia. And we were going to go on a big ride for my birthday.
When did you and Mr. Calvert separate?
Shortly after this accident, the beginning of May.
Okay. Now, how many payments did he make on the bike?
Probably about 3.
And what happened?
He did not keep making them, and it strained our relationship. And the problem really with Brian and with this whole incident is that he has a serious alcohol problem. And alcohol basically has ruined his life, because we had a good relationship when we were together. He didn't drink, but when he does drink, it's a nightmare. He either goes to jail or he goes to the hospital. One or the other. And that's what happened with this. As a matter of fact, he has 4 DUIs. 1 was on a 4-wheeler.
You still didn't tell me what happened when he stopped making the payments. If he
Nothing.
made 3
I made
payments.
the payments.
The accident was in May of 2006?
April.
April. Did you start drinking in April, Mr. Calvert?
I had a couple of drinks that night, ma'am.
Why?
Just the rest of us was drinking.
But you know you have a drinking problem.
I had a drinking problem, ma'am.
No, you have a drinking problem. You're always an alcoholic if you have a drinking problem.
Yes, ma'am.
You may be a recovering alcoholic, but you're always an alcoholic.
Yes, ma'am.
So what caused you to drink?
We was just having a couple beers, ma'am.
But you hadn't been drinking for a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
And after you started to drink, you got on the 4-wheeler?
We was on the 4-wheeler before we started to drink. I mean, we had the alcohol with us.
You ended up in the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
How seriously injured were you?
$8,000 worth of hospital bills.
Now, Ms. Leonard, did you ever receive a recall notice on these bikes?
The one that he was talking about with the throttle sticking, that was fixed before I ever bought the bike. And I have that statement right there.
Can I see it, please?
Right here is the claims history that the throttle was fixed prior to my purchasing it.
Have you seen this, sir? That the throttle that you complain about was fixed? And the repair was done August 19th of 05, when it had 2 miles on it.
On that bike, it wasn't, we bought the bikes before that. I mean,
No, sir, I don't care when you bought the bikes. Just listen to me. This indicates that on the VIN number of your bike, that throttle problem was repaired, looks like before it was purchased. The repair was done on the 19th of August, which is the date that it was purchased. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to look at this?
No, ma'am.
So the throttle didn't freeze, sir. Your brain froze. So that takes care of the second defense that you had. The throttle was fixed at the point of purchase. So if there was a recall notice generally sent out to everybody who had this bike, yours had already been fixed. So let's not deal with that piece. Let's deal with the fact that it was bought for you. You want to tell me that story?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm listening.
Her son wanted a different bike at the time, and she said, no, we're buying this bike because, I mean, that's the bike that she said, you know, I preferred to get. So that's the bike she got.
For her son?
No, it was too big for her son.
Just a second. I'm not following you, sir. I mean, if you're trying to confuse me, you're doing a very, very good job, and I'm not easy to confuse.
The bike was bought for me, ma'am.
You mean as a gift?
Yes, ma'am.
Then why did you make payments on it?
I helped her out when she needed help on making the payments on it.
Well, explain that to me, sir. Explain to me how it came about that you helped her out.
Numerous of times she asked me to make the bike payment.
Tell me about it. When was the first time she asked you to make a bike payment?
I don't have the dates with me.
Well, where are you supposed to get them from?
I gave her cash money, ma'am.
You think I believe you? Why in the world, sir, if she was involved with you 2 weeks, would she spend $7,000 on you? Why?
Ma'am, we lived together at the time.
No, that's not true.
Not August 19th, sir. You did not.
If she only knew me 2 weeks, she's not going to go out here and spend $7,000.
I didn't say she was involved with you for 2 weeks. She knew you from work, but she was involved with you for 2 weeks. Why in the world would she spend $7,000 for you? Now, at the time that these bikes were purchased, did you have a log home?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you in the process of selling the log home?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell her that you would give her back this money when you sold the log home?
No, ma'am.
When did you sell the log home?
End of August.
End of August. So if she said to me that you were planning on selling the log home, which she put in her complaint, and you were going to get the money when you sold the log home, that has a ring of truth to it. Wouldn't you say that, Mr. Calvert?
She's the one that sold the log home. She's a real estate.
You mean she sold the home and she got the money?
She sold the home, ma'am.
I'm asking you, she sold the home and she got the money, or she sold the home through her business and you got the money?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, what?
Yes, I got the money.
And what did you do with the money when you got it?
Put it back into more homes, ma'am.
You purchased more homes?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a discussion with Miss Leonard about purchasing more homes after she sold that home for you?
No, ma'am.
Did he?
Yes, he talked to me about building more homes.
What did he say about the payments on the bike?
He said to me, he said, I want to just make payments on it until I get another log home, and then when he sold that, then he would pay me for the bike. He was kind of dragging it out.
Can I ask you a question, Miss Leonard?
Yes.
Was he as animated when you were living as a couple as he is today?
He's actually a very talented and sensitive person. His problem is his drinking.
You could never tell by me. It's going to cost to get this thing fixed.
I have an estimate for $5,800.
May I see it, please? How much is left to pay off on the bike?
$6,550.
And you have no insurance?
I have no insurance.
Why?
This is good for anyone else who purchases a four-wheeler. Your homeowner's insurance does not cover those, and when I purchased the bike, they told me my homeowners would cover it.
No, you need individual insurance for these things. All right, Mr. Calvert, you know the two defenses we were talking about when we first started this case? I don't believe either one of them. Just for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all. Thank you.
Daryl Giese is suing his brother, Gene Giese, and his fiancée, Radapi Osborne, for airline tickets, clothing, and school supplies purchased on behalf of Radapi's daughter.
Yeah, this is case number 216 on the calendar in the matter of Giese versus Osborne. Giese. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Mr. Giese, this gentleman is your brother, is that
That's
correct? And the lady standing next to him is his girlfriend.
That's correct.
And I assume that you're her daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You lived in New Orleans?
Yes, ma'am.
And the family were victims of Hurricane Katrina, according to your complaint. And there came a time when either you were asked or volunteered to help them take care of her daughter because they were rendered homeless by Katrina. You did. You sent plane tickets and you had expenses. And I believe that your brother and his girlfriend acknowledged that the money that you spent was well over $1,000. Would you agree with that?
No, ma'am.
Well, we'll see. In any event, you claim that after Marina went home, Miss Osborne and Mr. Giese, your brother, received a check from FEMA in the amount of some $26,000.
To my knowledge, that's correct.
What was the amount of the check you received?
We received a couple of different checks.
Well, give me each amount and what they were for.
For personal property loss, I received $9,500. Mr. Giese received a little over $10,000 for personal property loss.
How much did you receive, sir?
$10,040, I think.
Right about $10,000. Okay, so you received approximately $20,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else for living expenses?
We submitted receipts for rental reimbursements.
And?
We received them.
How
and
much?
We continued, well, it came in lump sums of $2,000.
So how much did you receive in total?
Probably about 2 times $2,000, $4,000.
So $24,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Various local agencies, churches were able to help us out in our journey to get to where we are today.
Good. And your brother?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you this question, because you look like nice people, and I gather that this has created a rift in your family, which is unfortunate. Now, Miss Osborne, would you agree that any money that Mr. Giese spent on your daughter were necessaries for her?
Absolutely.
So, my question, Miss Osborne, would you agree that you, Miss Osborne, are responsible for the necessaries for your child?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
That's what the law says.
Absolutely.
Good. So, tell me, Mr. Giese, cutting to the chase, because I have other things to do. You volunteered to be of assistance during this time of crisis.
Yes and no. I was asked, and I agreed to it at that point, correct? Yes.
And how long did Marina stay with you?
She was with me a total of 10, 11 days, something like that.
And you, I assume, have receipts, sir, for all of the expenses that you believe you should be reimbursed for.
All except for one, Judge, because when the Katrina first happened, my mother actually called me and asked me if I can send them some money so that they can get their car fixed to get them down to Phoenix, where my younger brother was living, and she was actually there visiting with him at the time.
Okay. Well, if your mother asked you to do that, there's no agreement to pay him back. What I'm asking you is, we're talking in this case about the money that you laid out for Marina. Now, what bills do you have?
I have all the plane tickets and everything here. Plane tickets, receipts, school supplies. There's also several other expenses that I incurred that I am not suing for.
Okay. Well, let's go through them. Plane ticket was $275.79.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
We paid him back for those airplane tickets, Your Honor.
Just a second. I know that you gave him a check for $500. Who takes allergy medication?
She needed allergy medication when she was there, yes, because we had a dog in the house, and it was very...
Is that right?
It was affecting her very badly when she got
I'm
there.
just checking over all of these things. Dog treats.
That's not supposed to be in there, ma'am.
I don't care. I mean, if you're giving me something, sir, then I'm supposed to be able to rely on it. We have $84 in for your school supplies.
Yes, ma'am. May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
When she was in Illinois, right after the flood, my brother had taken her to the FEMA tent where the Red Cross and other agencies were there to attend to their needs. A lot of the things that were bought considered school supplies I would never agreed with because...
I don't care whether you agreed with them or not. You weren't there.
No, you're right.
You weren't there. And then there was another plane ticket, is that right?
Correct, one way to...
For $129.
Correct.
Okay. Let me tell you this, sir. The only thing that I have not considered is this long laundry list of stuff, which is some yours and some hers.
Correct.
And I'm not going through them and separating it, you know. We're not talking about that. So you know what I get, Mr. Giese? $571.
Okay, but like I was telling you, Judge, I sent them $300. It was not even my choice.
Just a second. It's not. I don't care whether it was your choice or not, sir. It was not a loan made to your brother that you can sue for.
That was a loan made to my brother.
No, it
ma'am.
wasn't, sir. It was something.
Absolutely.
No, Mr. Giese, you are incorrect. You said your mother called you and asked you to send money to your brother. They needed to get their car fixed.
Because she did not have the money to send to them
I understand
at that time.
that. That does not create a loan, sir. That is actionable in court.
But,
do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
And you don't even discuss that in your complaint.
But can I just say one more thing, Judge, please?
You sure can.
The reason for this entire lawsuit had nothing to do with the money, okay? I was in the middle of a separation with my wife in Virginia. I moved to Denver to be close to my family, to get the support that I needed from my family. My brother, in turn, stole one of my credit cards, charged up $1,650 in 8 days on this credit card.
Well, that's outrageous.
Yes, ma'am, it is. And
well, Mr. Giese, that's outrageous.
Because
you would acknowledge that that's outrageous.
Because he stole this from me, Your Honor, okay? Then they agreed to pay me the entire thing back. They paid me $1,000 for the credit card expenses. Now, when I tried...
Did they give you the $1,000?
No, ma'am. My mother gave me the $1,000.
Under his instruction.
Oh.
My mother
came
gave
from me because we couldn't speak to each other at the time. We were arguing and fighting.
So you gave your mother the $1,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? That's right. Okay.
Well, when I asked her about it, I said, where did this come from? Because I did not want to take the money as long as it was from my mother.
Gotcha.
And she said, it doesn't matter as long as you get it.
Now I understand why you felt entitled to bring this lawsuit over a relatively small amount of money that was incurred during a period of national tragedy because your brother stole from you. You were right.
He stole from me, and then after I filed this lawsuit, he called me up and threatened violence on me once again, as he always has, because he's an alcoholic.
Mr. Giese, I was just going to say to you, your brother drinks.
Way too much.
I can see that he drinks.
And I can show you the credit card receipt that when he stole my card, the first 3 places he went was the liquor store.
Listen to me. I've been in the business a very long time. You didn't need to tell me that he has a severe alcohol problem. He doesn't recognize the fact that people who are in the business of knowing whether somebody suffers from alcohol or other substance abuse can tell in a minute, Mr. Giese. And if your life is being destroyed because you're an alcoholic, I suggest you get some help for it.
And destroying everybody else's around
And
him.
I suggest, Miss Osborne, that it's wrong for you to allow your daughter to live in a household with an alcoholic. You put your daughter in a situation where she's living with an alcoholic, and that's unreasonable. Do we understand each other?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I see your mother is sitting over there. Are you annoyed with him?
Both of them.
That's not correct.
Oh, you're annoyed with both of them. I would be annoyed with both of them, too. I don't get it.
And later today,
$2,500 on a $10,000 car?
Correct.
That was a very bad trade that you made.
My father was of no help at the time.
Should have asked for somebody for advice.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daryl Giese claims his brother, Gene Giese, and fiancée Radapi Osborne owe for money loaned after Hurricane Katrina. The defendants claim Daryl was supposedly helping out in a time of need.
Okay. Right now, they owe you, according to Miss Osborne, who acknowledges, because this lawsuit is about the expenses for Marina, who acknowledges that if you laid out money for Marina, she is responsible for that because those are necessaries for her children, right? So I have legitimate expenses of $571, and you sent them $500.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I have. So you owe him $71. It's a shame that after all of this, a family clearly had gotten along well enough to be able to make a phone call and get some cash sent, should have any issues with regard to money. And if your brother was nice enough to send you $300 because you needed it, you should have sent him back the money. That's your moral obligation.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether or not you had a contract with him or not.
I did give him a brand new living room set and a dining room set.
Listen to me. Unless you had an agreement with him that that living room set and the dining room set was in lieu of the $300, that's a gift. And what I'm telling you is, if he was nice enough, because I see your mother is sitting over there.
Yes, ma'am.
So she's probably annoyed with you. Would that be, are you annoyed with him?
Both of them.
That's not
Both of them.
correct.
Oh,
I did
both
not.
of them. You're annoyed with both of them. I would be.
I did not
Miss
call
Giese, is that right? I would be annoyed with both of them, too. I don't get it. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $71. That's all.
Parties are excused and they step out. Wait right here, please.
All my brother does is take advantage of the people around him.
He's angry at the world right now, and I happen to be at the end of this hill.
And then he pushes them to the side.
I'm a loving person, and I learn to forgive, too.
Or punches you in your face and puts you in the hospital.
I hope that he has a successful life.
He is not part of my family anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hayes versus Hayes. Step forward, please.
24-year-old Brittany Hayes is suing her father, Jerome Hayes, for missed payments on a '96 Cadillac DeVille.
Miss Hayes, this is your father.
Yes.
And your complaint is that several years ago, you purchased a car. It was for your dad. He didn't have sufficient credit, so you took out the loan. The agreement was that he would make the payments on the car. According to you, he stopped making the payments on the car. You took the car back, in effect repossessing the car, kept the car for a period of time, then traded it in for another car, which you put on your credit card. And you say that your father agreed to make those credit card payments for you.
Correct.
Your father said that's not what the agreement was. So that's what it's about. When was this car purchased?
February 27th of 2003. It was a 1996 Cadillac DeVille, a faux convertible top.
I don't care what it looked like, quite frankly. Nobody has it anymore. You don't have it, he doesn't have it, and I certainly don't have it. Okay, and when did you take the car back?
It was end of November of 2003, the same year.
So he didn't have the car very long. How much was the total cost that was financed?
$10,355.84.
That's what was financed?
Correct.
From February until November, did you make the payments on the car, sir?
Up until the October payment.
What happened in October?
I was in between jobs.
Had you told her that you couldn't make the car payment that month?
Yeah, and she screamed at me.
You said, I don't have the money to make the car payment.
Yeah, and she replied that I'm not going to make the payment. You need to get off your rear and go get you another job. I go, I'm in the process of going back to work. She took the car.
She took the car then, in
Yes.
November of 2003?
Yes.
Okay. What happened next, Mr. Hayes?
2 weeks after she took the car, I was back to work. I tried contacting her via cell phone. She never returned the phone call. Several months went by. I'd say about 4.5, 5 months later, she finally returned the phone call, stating that she didn't have the car anymore.
What did you do with it?
She traded it in for a Honda SUV because she said the Cadillac was a gas guzzler.
Okay. Now, was the car registered in your name or in your daughter's name?
Well, the problem was I had an out-of-state license, and that's why I went through her. I put $2,500 down cash on the car, gave her $200 to help me out. And the plan was for me to get it out of her name and put it in my name, which I had
So the car was
difficulties.
also titled in her name?
Yes.
And your father gave you the down payment of $2,500?
Correct.
What were the monthly payments on the car?
$298.34.
Okay, so let's make it easy for me because, you know, I'm math challenged. Let's make it $300 per month. Okay, so your father had the car 8 months. He had the car and made 8 months' worth of payments. Now, when you took the car back, was it your intention to sell it or was it your intention to use it?
I was unable to use it. I couldn't even afford the gas in that car.
Did you sell it or trade it?
I traded it into the dealership.
Well, that's a problem because you didn't trade it in for its maximum value if you traded it into a dealer. The dealer doesn't give you the same price as you would get if you sold it privately. You understand that? For my own curiosity, what did you get when you sold the car?
$2,500.
$2,500 on a $10,000 car?
Correct.
Well, I mean, that's ridiculous. The car was 9 months old. So I don't know where you were getting your advice from, but that was a very bad trade that you made.
I was under a time constraint. I didn't have the time.
It was a very bad trade that you made, Miss Hayes.
I was 21 years old at the time, Your Honor.
Well, then you should have asked for some advice, madam.
My father was of no help at the time.
Well, should have asked for somebody for advice. Now, when you spoke to your father about it, your father said what to you?
My father was very hard to contact throughout the time. I was getting frequent phone calls from the finance company notifying me of late payment, saying that I had not made a payment.
I'm not talking about history. Let's understand each other, Miss Hayes. I'm not talking about history. I'm talking about after you took the car back, your father did send you some money.
He did not send me any money until April of 2004.
Well, that's what I'm talking. Listen a minute. After you took the car back, he sent you some money. April 2004 is after you took the car back.
Correct.
How much did he send you?
$1,300. Infrequent payments, about
I don't care if it's frequent payments, infrequent payments. So far, this is what your father has invested in this car. $2,500 in a down payment, $2,400 in payments that he made, and another $1,300 that he sent to you, according to your father, because he says you made a really bad deal when you traded in this car. And you did make a very bad deal. So let's see. So far, he invested $6,200 in this car, $6,200, which he had for 9 months, according to you, right?
Correct.
I don't know what you want. So you sold it for $2,500, you traded it in, and you bought a Honda for how much?
The total amount was $16,000 was the finance for the Honda.
And they gave you credit for $2,500 for your car for a trade-in?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, that's a very bad trade-in, madam.
Cadillacs have a very low resale value.
Then you should have sold it privately. He's not responsible for that. Ms. Hayes, he's not responsible for that. You made a very bad deal with the dealership.
I made a very bad deal agreeing to help my father get this car.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But he is not responsible for this bad deal that you made in trading in your car. I mean, it's unfortunate, but your father has paid $6,200 for a car that he had for 9 months, right? It was a very bad deal that you made. You still have the Honda?
It's been a great purchase to have that Honda.
All right. Well,
it's been more reliable to me than my father has in my whole life.
You bought a car for $16,000. You bought a car for $16,000. If you couldn't afford it, you shouldn't have bought a car for $16,000 using this Cadillac as a trade-in. I don't even know what the book value is on a 1996 Cadillac, a 1997 Cadillac that you sold 2 years ago. Do you know what the book value is?
I do not, Your Honor.
Well, just for curiosity's sake, let's find out, Bert. I believe this was a 1996 Cadillac Sedan DeVille, and it was sold in 2004. Okay, can we find out?
Okay.
Thank you. Now, it's going to be hard to tell because the car was sold in 2004, but let's see what we can do.
Okay. Good condition would be $3,750. Private party good would be $5,125.
So private party good
Right.
would be $5,125, and that's 2 years after you sold it. You sold it 2 years ago. So let's say you add $1,000 for every year. So that's $7,000 that you should have gotten for the car, not $2,500. Should have gotten $7,000 for the car. At the time you traded it in for $2,500. That's not his fault. Okay, I'm sorry, Miss Hayes, your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Restaurant supervisor Laura Pope is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 21-year-old machine operator Jonathan Page, for rent, the balance on a car, and for the return of property he stole from her storage unit.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom.
I'd be quiet if I were you.
Yeah, this is case number 564 on the calendar, the matter of Pope versus Page. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Ms. Pope, the defendant was a former boyfriend of yours. You lived together for a period of time.
Yes.
You no longer are together.
Correct.
According to your complaint, Mr. Page owes you for a variety of things.
Correct.
And in addition to these loans that you claim, you say that he has some property that belongs to you that he took from storage.
Yes.
Mr. Page says he owes you nothing. There was never an agreement to pay rent. The car that you bought him was an old piece of junk, and he returned it to you anyway, and that was a gift. And that the one thing he took from storage with his current girlfriend, who I assume you brought to court?
Yes.
Right? For any particular reason?
Yes.
Or just to be irritating?
No.
He returned to you, which was a sewing machine that he took from storage, and he gave it back. So, during what period of time did you and Mr. Page live together?
From January of 2002 to March of 2004.
And was this in an apartment that you had leased?
We first lived in a house that I owned, and then I sold the house and we moved into a house that was rented until we broke up.
And who was on the lease in the rented house?
We both were.
Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Who moved out first?
Me.
Any particular reason?
He wasn't helping pay the bills, so I figured I had to go somewhere cheaper I could afford.
Where were you working, Mr. Page?
At Rayco, the place I currently work at.
Rayco?
Yes.
What is that?
It is an electrical supply company.
How long have you been working there?
It'll be 2 years in September, so about a year and a half.
And what kind of money do you earn there?
$45 a year.
It's a decent salary. So you were helping to pay the bills?
Yes, I was.
No, he wasn't.
Ah.
He didn't have the job until close to the end of the relationship.
Tell me about the rent arrangement that you claim.
When he moved in with me in January, we both agreed we
January of what year?
2002. We agreed that we would split the house payment in half and the utilities in half. Everything would be 50-50.
You're not claiming anything from 2002, 2003, are you?
Yeah, I paid all the house payments.
I'm not interested in that, madam.
Okay.
If he didn't pay the bills in January of 2002, February of 2002, March of 2002.
He did pay some. He gave me $4,000.
March of 2002, June of 2002, you pack a suitcase and you put him out.
He did pay some.
I'm not going to 2002, 2003, 2003 until 2004. You know, if you're sleeping with somebody and living with them as a family and everything is going along smoothly and you let him slide with regard to the rent because he, according to you, wasn't working and didn't get a job until, according to you, the end of the relationship is over now. Don't bother the courts.
Okay.
You got it? Mm-hmm. Good. So he moved out in March of 2004?
Correct.
And you got the job, listen to me, sir, you got the job in September of 2003, according to you.
Correct.
Did you contribute to household expenses from March of 2004 until September of 2003?
Yes, I did.
You have receipts for money that you gave her?
No, I did not.
Well, how much money did you give her?
She was like the financial allocator in the relationship, so she would ask me, you know, I need this much this week. So I would just give it to her. I trusted her.
You have to be more specific to me, sir. After you got your job in March of 2004, did you or did you not contribute to half of the household expenses?
Yes, ma'am.
How?
Through money that I earned at my job.
Tell me physically how you did that. Did you deposit your check in
No, I gave the money directly to her, yes.
So, no. Well, your employer did not give you $45,000 a year in cash. You got your check and you put it in a...
savings account.
And then you took out from the savings account, interesting, from the savings account you took out a certain amount of...
money.
Cash.
Yes.
And with that cash, you gave her money, according to you, every week.
Every week.
Show me.
I have no documentation of it.
Well, where did you think you were coming today, Mr. Page? I mean, did you think you were coming to the opening of an opera?
No, I did not.
You were coming to a court. And if your defense to this action is that I did pay household expenses, you would bring something that would show me deposits every week or every 2 weeks from your check, and then a certain amount that you took out for yourself. Right?
Right.
So you don't have that.
No, I do not.
So I'm going to start in October of 2003, because he just started working, according to him, in September of 2003. Starts to put some money away. Let's deal. October, November, December, January, February. When in March did he move out?
On the 4th of March.
5 months then. What was the rent on the house he was living in?
$700 a month.
And prior to that, Mr. Page, you were not working, so you were contributing nothing.
That's not true. I was working at Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut?
Yes, at that time.
Pizza Hut.
Before that.
No, you weren't amassing a fortune working at Pizza Hut.
No, I was not.
Who are you?
I'm Laura Pope's witness.
Just a second. I just asked you who you were.
I'm Cynthia Radamilli.
Are you related to her in any way?
No, we're just friends.
Good. When I need you, I'll call you.
Okay.
We have $350 a month, which is half the rent, times 5, which equals $1,750. That's what you should have paid, minimally, when you started to work at your $45,000 a year job. Now, let's talk about the car.
Okay.
When did you purchase this car for him?
January of '04.
Tell me the circumstances, according to you, Ms. Pope, of how the car was purchased.
He needed a car to go to and from work, and he agreed if I helped him get a car, that he would make payments on the car till it was paid off, and that's how he was going to be able to pay me for the money he owed me getting a job.
So did the two of you go to look for a car?
No, I went and got the car for him. He didn't want to go.
Just a second. On what day of the week did you do that?
I don't know. I have the paperwork.
Paperwork you may have, madam. My question is, how old are you?
21.
21-year-old guy doesn't say to somebody who he's living with, listen, I want to buy a car, I need a car to go to work. If you go pick it out for me, I'll pay you for it.
Right. And she went there with her ex-boyfriend, Your Honor.
Just a second. Does it sound as if you're losing this debate so far? Except the rent part.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So you married after you separated from him?
Yes.
Immediately.
When did you get married?
June.
Somebody a little more age appropriate?
Yes.
Play around with a baby, you get actions like a baby.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Laura Pope says her former live-in boyfriend, Jonathan Page, owes for rent, the balance on a car, and for the return of stolen property.
Go ahead.
We weren't going to get a fancy car, just something that would get him to and from work. That's what we agreed on, and that's what I got. When I took the car back, he said it's fine. I could have took the car back. I had 5 days to take the car back. He agreed it was fine. And we also agreed he would only pay half of the car. I was helping him out.
You mean they let you take the car off the lot without paying for it?
No, I put a deposit down to take the car off the lot. $300 I put down to take the car.
How much was the car?
$1,183.
Did you pay any money towards the car, Mr. Page?
Yes, I did.
You did?
As far as repairs and
no.
go. No, I didn't.
My question to you, Mr. Page, is a simple one. I speak English. Did you pay any money towards the car?
No, it was a gift.
Who paid for the insurance?
I did.
Actually, that's not true. Both of us did. We both paid on it.
How did you both pay for insurance?
Well, I would give her the money for it some months when she didn't have it, so.
The insurance was in his name only. I paid it. I got the insurance.
Where's the car now?
It's at the police towing because he had it towed to my house in December of '04 because it didn't work anymore. And I asked him, he took the plates off the car. And I said, Jonathan, I need the plates for the car. Oh, I'll give them to you. I'll give them to you. Come get them. Came, he never showed up, never got the plates. The plates are still good until May of this year.
What'd you do that for?
They came with the plates. I sent them over there with the plates. They were already expired.
I have the registration to show that's different.
Why did you bring the car back to her house?
Because she wouldn't give me the title to it. So it was really her car still.
Whose name was on the title?
Hers.
Mine.
Oh, goodbye. You had the car. You should have taken better care of it. All right, let's not deal with the car anymore. What else do you claim he owes you?
He owes me for property he stole out of my storage
Now,
bin.
why did you go to her storage unit? That's the question that I have.
That was our storage bin. Yeah, she had gave me one key to it. We both had both of our stuff in it.
What did you have in there?
I had all of my office equipment in there.
Why did you take her sewing machine?
She had boxed all the stuff up when she had initially put it in there, so all of our stuff was mixed up. When I took it to my parents' house, I unpacked it. I noticed like some of her items were in there. Those got returned.
Well, when did you, let's start, Mr. Page. When did you go to the storage unit? What date?
I would say about May.
I need a date. Around May is not a date.
May 16th, a couple days before my birthday, I know that. So my birthday.
See how we're getting closer? A couple of days before your birthday, around May 16th. And who did you go there with?
I went there alone.
Did you tell her you were going?
No.
Why not?
Because I was assuming that she would not allow me to get my stuff because she was being a little vindictive about getting my stuff in the first place.
When did you call her and say that I, by mistake, got some of your stuff?
Well, she was calling me all the time.
That's not my question.
When
did you call her and say to her, I mistakenly took some of your stuff?
I never did.
Why not?
Because she was always coming to my house and she got it anyway, so.
I want you to understand something, Mr. Page. My reactions to you have nothing to do with whether I like you or don't like you, because I don't know you well enough to either like you or dislike you. My reactions to you are the reactions of somebody who's listening to facts that don't make sense for somebody who's trying to do the right thing. Do you understand me?
Yes, I do.
If you're in a relationship with somebody and lived with them for a substantial period of time, and for most of that time they were supporting you, which she was, and you had some things that were in a mutual storage facility, I can understand, as a matter of fact, why you would want to go there by yourself and not confront her if you separated in something less than an amicable situation. But once having gotten the stuff home, if you didn't open boxes there, and realizing that you got some stuff, I would either email her or pick up a phone and call, or write a letter and say, I'm sorry, I have the following stuff. Or even better, taking the same key with which you got into the storage and taking the stuff back. We understand each other.
Yes, I do.
You did none of those things. You waited for her to have to come over with the police to get her things.
No, she didn't come with the police.
Who did you come with?
I came by myself, and then my husband came.
Is this your husband or your ex-husband?
My husband, current husband.
Current husband. So you married after you separated from him?
Yes.
Immediately.
When did you get married?
June.
June. You have a nice husband now?
I do.
Very good. Glad to hear it.
Thank you.
Somebody a little more age appropriate?
Yes.
Perfect. Play around with a baby, you get actions like a baby. You understand?
Yes.
You got your sewing machine back. What else did he give you?
I do not have my sewing machine back.
You don't have it back?
No, we went Friday the 18th, February 18th. He agreed to meet me.
February 18th of 2005?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
He agreed to meet me at his mother's house at 1 o'clock, which is where he claimed my stuff was. I was there, he wasn't. I ended up getting his phone number through information. He was still in bed. He ended up over there like 1:45. He came out with a serger machine, put it in the car. I said, because he agreed to pay for the towing fees on the car, because I had to get it towed, the police towed it. Anyway, he said, well, I don't think I owe you the money, fine, whatever. He brought the one machine out, put it in my car, got mad, took it back out of my car. And I said, I'm not going to play the games, we'll just go to court. And I left.
That's not true. I gave her her surgery machine. She still has it.
He didn't. He took it out of my car.
And that was the only belonging of hers that I had. I gave it to her.
You told me that you took several items of hers out of storage, sir. Not more than 5 minutes ago, you said several of her things got mixed up with your stuff.
Well, that's
you just told me that.
Right, those little knick-knack things that were given back to her.
When?
On that day. Along with her little surgery machine, her husband took them with her, so he should have told her that.
May I please see the list of things that you say he has from storage?
Yeah, well, it's on the statement also. I have a letter I sent him. Oh, he has a letter?
Yeah.
That's the same letter I have.
And at the bottom, my Social Security number's on there, and she said she put it on there so I couldn't hide for whatever.
What? I don't understand. I don't understand. You have to speak up, speak clearly.
My Social Security number's on the bottom of there, and she said she put it on there so I couldn't hide from her. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, whatever threat that means. And on there...
You have a serger machine and a sewing machine. What's a serger?
It's
that's what I gave back
the
to
piece on that, like, that makes the hems on your pants, those little fancy...
Do you have the receipts for these things, madam?
No, I do not.
Anything else you want to tell me?
Yes. On that letter, it said all my belongings have been returned to me. Actually, they have not, including a 19-inch Sylvania TV that she has on mine and $748 she owes me.
Probably should have filed a counterclaim, sir.
I know. I should have.
Well, you didn't. And when you file the counterclaim, sir, I suggest you get all your bank records so that you can also, have something other than, you need smile when you come to court. What else?
Actually, all her claims are null and void due to this agreement that we signed.
I'd like to say something about that agreement.
We both signed that agreement on that date, and we agreed that there would be no further action.
Don't lie.
Ms. Pope, I have a letter.
Yes.
An agreement.
Yes.
That is signed.
Yes.
Your signature, dated the 18th of February, date that I think that you discussed that...
We had went over there.
You came over to the house to get your property.
Correct.
And I'm going to read it to you. It says, final settlement. Who typed this up?
I typed it up.
Final settlement on this date, February 18th. You both agreed that neither party owes the other any monies or property from this day forward. This settlement agreement includes and is limited to all dates and times prior to February 19th, 2005. Final settlement is legal and both parties have agreed fully to its content, and final settlement can be used in a court if ever contested by either party. When did you prepare this?
Prepared that the day we agreed to meet, the day he said he was going to make the payments and return my property. I showed him that paper. I said, this is what we'll sign. I had already signed it because I believed he was going to do what he said. He took that paper and would not give it back, and I told him, I said, because there was 2 copies, my copy and his copy. I said, we both have to sign this for it to be in agreement.
Where's your copy?
He never signed it, so I didn't bring it.
Well, wouldn't that be some evidence, madam, that it was not fully executed, that each of you didn't have a fully executed copy?
He knows he didn't sign it there. He knows this.
Yes, I did. There is no other copy.
Listen to me very carefully. There is something called the parole evidence rule in contracts. Parole evidence rule says that you cannot go outside of the 4 corners of a document in order to explain away a document that is valid and clear on its face. Do you understand?
I understand that.
Now, you are older than he is. He's a baby. You're, according to him, 13 years older than he is. You've been in business, you work, you support yourself, you know, you take care of yourself. I think that you're smart enough not to sign something until you get what you're supposed to get. You had not gotten the rent money, because this doesn't say, you know, upon condition that he pays the rent, then we've settled. Upon condition that he paid for the car, $600, we've settled. Upon condition that he returns the sewing machine, we're settled. This says that on this date, you've settled everything. The only way you can explain it away is by saying, listen, he forced me to sign it. I was under duress. I was in the trunk of his car, and he said he was going to close the trunk of the car without air holes. So I signed it. You didn't say that, did you?
No, I did not.
Unfortunately, Miss Pope, you have a nice husband now. We're not talking about a lot of money here. We're talking about money that probably some of which was a gift to him, some of which you never expected to be returned to you if the relationship lasted. So you got away cheap. You have a happy life, enjoy it. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
21-year-old Jamie Mathia is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Russell Ehart, for stealing money from a joint bank account, the return of her belongings, and an assault.
Yeah, this is case number 268 on the calendar in the matter of Mathia versus Ehart. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat. You're welcome.
Mr. Ehart, you don't look so well.
What was that?
I don't know. Did you have a bad night last night?
No.
Out partying a little late last night?
No, not last night.
What about the night before last?
Yeah, I might have went out on the town a little bit.
How old are you, sir?
22.
Mr. Ehart, you keep going out like that and partying and, you know, having great times. By the time you're 30, you're going to look 90. Take that as some good advice from me.
Okay.
I have had 22-year-old children. They look a lot better than you. Got it?
Got it.
Good. Miss Mathia, according to your complaint, this young man used to be your boyfriend, clearly an error in your judgment. You claim that last year he assaulted you, he emptied a joint bank account, and he's got some personal property that belongs to you.
Right.
Mr. Ehart says you've got to move on. Get over it. Did you live together last year?
In 2005, yes, ma'am.
From when to when? Keep your voice up.
Well, I moved out on March 19th, 2005.
When did you move in together?
September or October of 2004 was when we moved in our house together, but before that, we were living at his mother's house together.
How old are you?
Now I am 21.
When you were living at his mother's house, had you gone there from your parents' house?
From my father's house, yes.
Was that a bad situation at your father's house?
It wasn't the best.
Was it better at his house?
No. No.
Just trying to get a sense of things. You said that you separated in March of 2005. Was that the date of this alleged assault?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like you to tell me what happened, please.
Okay, that morning we woke up and I asked him what his plans for the day was, and he said he was going to go to his father's house to work on his car. I said, fine. And I asked him, we were selling things on eBay, and I had asked him if before he left he would set up the digital camera because I couldn't figure it out. And I don't know if I had said something wrong, but it made him mad, and he started yelling and throwing things, and I ended up getting pushed down into a stack of boxes that were like like 5 or 6 boxes
She's
high.
lying, Judge.
You'll have a turn. Go ahead.
Okay. And then when I got pushed down, I was on the floor, and he grabbed the front of my hair right here and took my head and started beating it into the door frame. And I will admit, while he was doing that, I did bite him. I bit him because it was the only thing I could do to get him off of me. He finally let go, and I took off running to the front door. And while I was running to the front door, we had a big rock he was making like a water fountain, and there was rocks, and he took it and threw it at me and hit me in my back. And I do have pictures of everything.
I'd like to take a look at them. You also have a police report?
I have the report that I wrote.
Okay, I gather from the complaint, both of you at some point on that day were arrested, but ultimately you were let go and he was taken into custody. Is that right?
Yes. We ended up going to court, and he was found guilty.
Okay. When you went to court on the assault charge, that it was domestic violence assault charge, was there a trial, or did he plead guilty?
I think he pled not guilty. The judge heard my case, and they heard his case.
So you testified?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it correct, Mr. Earhart, that you were found guilty after a trial of domestic violence?
That is correct.
And what happened with that case, sir?
I appealed it, and the charges were dismissed.
Explain that to me, sir.
I believe they dismissed it because there was lack of evidence.
No, ma'am.
She attacked me.
I bit him, yes, I did.
The plaintiff says in between the trial and whatever happened subsequently, you were arrested on another charge, which sort of complicated your criminal history. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
And what happened with that case?
It was amended to traffic violation.
To a traffic violation? What kind of traffic violation?
Let's see, running a stop sign and failure to yield.
Somebody was killed in that incident. Is that right?
2 people were killed in that accident.
Were you drag racing?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't even involved in the accident.
You just jumped a stop sign.
Yeah.
Had you been drinking?
No, I hadn't.
What time did this happen?
About 1:20.
In the afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to tell me your version of what happened on March 19th?
Well, she did ask me to set up the camera for her on the internet, and I didn't do it right away, so she started screaming at me, and I picked up the phone to make a phone call, and she takes it away from me and hit me in the head with it. And then I tried to get the phone again because I was trying to call my mom to see what I had to do to get her evicted. And at that time, she spit in my face and tried to punch me. So I grabbed both of her wrists and just basically restrained her from hitting me. And in the process of that, we went to the floor, and my arm crossed her mouth. That's when she bit me. I let go of her. She ran out of the house.
How did your arm cross her mouth?
I was holding her wrist on the floor, and she was struggling.
Well, that's hard. If you're holding her wrists on the floor, I'd like to know how could you know what I'm talking about, Bert?
I understand.
You know, unless she had a really long neck. How did she bite you, sir, if what you were doing was you were holding both her arms on the floor?
We were in an area that was about this big, and we began like this, and then we turned. And when we came down on the floor, she was struggling, trying to hit me the whole time. I'm trying to hold her hands, and somehow my arm got across her mouth, and she bit me. At that time, I let go of her, and she left.
How'd she get the bruise on her back?
I don't know. I don't know that she had a bruise on her back.
She did. I saw the photographs. So what I'm asking you, how does she get the bruise on her back? She threw a rock at herself?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you an only child?
No, I'm not.
Are you the oldest or the youngest?
Youngest.
How many were there before you?
2.
How did they turn out?
Fine.
Fine. Should have stopped with 2.
And later today.
Mr. Sabat, you don't want me to think you're a lowlife.
I'm not a lowlife.
You are, sir.
Why is that?
Because if you said to me we really cared about each other, and that's what I'm speaking, don't ever interrupt me.
Jamie Mathia claims her ex-boyfriend, Russell Ehart, owes for stealing money from a joint bank account, the return of her belongings, and a violent assault.
Okay. Now tell me about this joint bank account.
We had a bank account in both of our names so that when I paid bills, we both got credit for them.
Did each of you contribute to the bank account?
Well, he did sometimes. It was kind of like pulling teeth to get rent money and bill money. I just took all the bills, added them up, divided them in two.
Okay, but you both put money into the joint account.
He gave the cash to me and I deposited in the account, yes.
Okay, and you put your paycheck in the account?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Earhart, according to the plaintiff, you emptied the joint bank account.
I did.
And what happened was she wrote a $6 check on that joint bank account and it bounced. Your response said she had no business writing a check on a joint bank account. That's what you say here.
The reason,
that's true, Mr. Earhart. Could you explain why you emptied it?
She was there when I closed the account. She knew that I closed it and there was no money.
Explain that to me, sir.
I went to the bank to close the account.
On what date did you go to the bank?
I'm not sure what the date was.
Before or after March 19th?
It was before.
No, ma'am.
Shh. Don't interrupt him.
Sorry.
It was before March 19th.
Sure.
Sure is not an answer, sir. Sure is what you do when you talk to your friends outside in the park. It's either yes or no, or I don't recall, I don't remember.
I'm not sure when it was for sure.
Well, if it was afterwards, you would agree it was the wrong thing to do.
Why would it be wrong?
Because you said it was wrong, sir. You said it was wrong for her to have written a $6 check on a joint bank account after the two of you had broken up. And I said to you, then what gives you the right to empty out the bank account? If it was a joint account, then you said I emptied it out before, and she knew about it. That's what you just told me. I mean, I'm getting old, sir, but my memory is sharp. That's because I don't party like you do. Now, so let's get to it, sir.
Okay.
Do you want to tell me how she was aware of the fact that you emptied the joint bank account because you went to the bank together?
She was at the bank at the same time that I was when I emptied the bank account. I didn't want a joint bank account with her name in it because she's going to write bad checks with my name on it.
Just a second, but you hadn't had a fight yet. If this happened before March 19th, you hadn't had a fight yet, unless you have some sort of clairvoyant gift or skill. How would you know that you were going to have a fight on March 19th to bring you to the bank before March 19th to close the account?
We were breaking up anyway, Your Honor. I'm not sure what the date was. It possibly was after March 19th.
Now, if it was after March 19th, you wouldn't have been at the bank together, so she didn't know that you closed the account. Are you making things up as you're going along, sir?
No, I'm not making it up.
Yes, you are. Sure you are. I mean, I don't know why you think that you can come here and act like a fool. Can I see the date that he closed the joint account?
Yes, ma'am. I was not at the bank. I was at work that day.
That doesn't make any difference. So it looks as if he took out $400. Is that what you took out of the account, sir? $400?
Yes.
So why didn't you send her half the money?
She didn't ask for it.
Well, now she is. Shh. Now she is. So she gets $200 from the joint bank account. Now let's talk about the property. Go!
When I left, I took what I could get in my car.
What did you leave there?
Oh, everything, Your Honor.
Why didn't you get it back? We're a year later.
Yes, I have tried numerous times
Well,
to
that's
get
too
it.
bad. Are you still living in the same house?
I recently moved back in about a month ago.
Had you left?
I moved out the day after she did.
And how long were you gone?
A year.
You waited too long.
Your Honor.
You waited too long. You know where a courthouse is, and if you wanted your property, I'm not going to go tracing your property over the last year. It's not going to happen.
I understand
Good.
what you're
I'm
saying.
glad you understand. While you were living together, did either of you abuse drugs?
No.
She did.
What?
She smoked marijuana.
Not you.
Your Honor.
Shh, shh, shh. Not you.
Yeah, I did.
Well, then why did you just say she?
Well, she did it a lot more than I did, Your Honor.
Ooh.
She was a heavy user.
Ooh.
She needs to go to
Just a second. Are
rehab.
you an only child?
No, I'm not.
Are you the oldest or the youngest?
Youngest.
How many were there before you?
2.
How did they turn out?
Fine.
Fine. Should have stopped with 2. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
Why is that excused? You may step out.
I have never heard as many lies come out of that boy's mouth today as I have in my whole life.
Jamie here, she's just poor. She can't pay her bills, and she wants to mooch off me as usual, like she used to.
He didn't pay anything. He hardly ever even went to work.
She never had a job, or if she did, she worked at a gas station like she does now.
He's nuts. I mean, really, he is beyond nuts.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Collins versus Sabet. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Erin Collins is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Amir Sabet, for a $500 loan. Amir says the money was a birthday gift.
Miss Collins, you and the defendant dated for a brief period of time. $500 changed hands from you to the defendant. You claim it was a loan. He says it was a gift. Why in the world would you give him money?
Because he was in need, and...
Look at me.
I'm looking at you. He was in need. I had slept over that night.
Slept at his apartment?
Yes.
What night was it?
The first week of May.
Of '06?
Correct.
And how long had you been dating him at the time?
6 months.
So you slept at his apartment?
Correct. That night I was over, he was pacing, saying that his father was in Las Vegas and that he needed to pay his father's bills when he was away. He asked me if I could loan him the money.
How much did he say he needed?
He said he needed $500.
So you said you would loan him the money?
Correct.
When did he say he would pay you back?
That Saturday.
What was going to happen the following Saturday that would give him $500?
His father was flying in from Las Vegas at Logan Airport, and he was picking him up, and he said he would receive the money then. He went to go pick him up at Logan Airport, and he said he would receive the money the next week. It continued, I will give you the money, I will give you the money, and it went on for months, and I did not receive the money.
But you continued to see him?
No, we did not continue to see each other.
Well, when did you stop seeing him?
In June.
So this happened the first week in May, and you stopped seeing him in June?
Correct.
Why?
Why? Because he started acting weird, promising that he'd give me the money, and he has talked to several of my friends about it.
Don't tell me anything that he discusses with your friends. That's hearsay.
Correct, and I also have text messages on my cell phone, if you would like to see them.
Do you have them with you?
I do.
I'd like to see them.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Sabat, you want to tell me about this $500, please?
Yeah, it was given to me as a gift.
When?
In early May.
Well, tell me how that came about, Mr. Sabat.
I told her I had to pay my father's bills before he came back. It was for his mortgage. So she gave me the $500.
Just a second. Why did you have to pay your father's mortgage?
He was away. I've been helping him for a while. He just sold his house last month, and he's not working. He's retired. My mother passed away last August.
It's a very sad story, sir. Why were you paying your father's mortgage?
Just helping him.
What was he doing in Las Vegas?
On a vacation to get away from everything with my aunt and uncle.
He flew to Las Vegas?
Yep.
Instead of paying his mortgage?
Well, I told him I'd take care of it. I told him, go have fun.
So I assumed that if you told your father to go and have fun, that you would take care of it, that you had the money.
Correct.
So why didn't you use your money?
Well, business was slow at the time where I work, and
How long was your father in Las Vegas?
a week.
He was coming back after the first week in May, so I assume the mortgage was due May 1st. There is a certain grace period with a mortgage. Why did you take $500? Don't give me the baloney about your father's mortgage. Why did you take $500 from her?
She gave it to me as an early birthday gift. She said, don't pay it back.
Mr. Sabat, let me explain something to you. I don't believe you. You're a liar. Paying your father's mortgage is not a birthday present. If you said, I need $500, I want to go out and buy myself something, or I owe people money and I have to pay them, or else I'm going to get myself in trouble, then I could understand her saying to you, I love you, honey. Here's $500 that you need. It's an early birthday present. But not to pay your father's mortgage. That is not romantic, sir. You understand?
Well, I understand, yeah.
Good. That's not what you needed $500 for. Don't believe you.
Okay.
On June 14th, you sent her a message, sir, that says, after I pay you, I don't want to see you or hear you again. You remember that?
She texted it to herself. You can text message online and send it to somebody's phone. I never sent the text message.
So what did you do when she asked you for the money? Did you respond to her?
I never responded to any of her phone calls.
When did she start asking you for this money back?
Probably a couple weeks after I stopped talking to her.
And when was that?
End of May, beginning of June.
Why did you stop talking to her at the end of May?
I've been trying to get rid of her. I was trying to get rid of her for a while.
How long is a while, Mr. Sabat?
About a month and a half.
Well, a month and a half would bring us to April.
Right. I've been trying to get rid of her since I didn't...
Then why did you take $500 from her? If you were trying...
She gave it to me.
Is there something wrong with you?
Nothing at all.
Oh, there is. There is absolutely something wrong with you. Who are you?
I'm his coworker. The reason why I'm here is because everyone would come into our dealership, our place of business, and she calls a big fit.
Good. Sit down.
Sorry. It's just that... Sorry.
Mr. Sabat, you don't want me to think you're a lowlife.
I'm not a lowlife.
You are, sir. You want me to tell you why you're a lowlife?
Why is that?
Because if you said to me, we really cared about each other, and
I
that's
didn't
what
care about
I'm speaking. Don't ever interrupt me.
Sorry.
If you said to me, we really cared about each other, I was in a bind, I needed $500. She said, sure, I'll give it to you. If you can pay me back, fine. If you can't, fine. And you were together, you were a couple. And then you broke up. You know, sometimes I can understand that that sort of thing happens. But that's not what you told me, Mr. Sabat. What you told me was you were trying to get rid of her before you took the $500 from her.
Correct.
You were trying to get rid of her before she slept over at your house the beginning of May. And a lowlife takes advantage of somebody who may not be as swift as they are or thinks they're not as swift. You know, there's a difference between being intellectually gifted and having no moral compass, sir. If I had my choice between not being intellectually gifted but having a moral compass, I would pick having a moral compass. You evidently made the wrong choice. You owe her $500, sir. Pay it. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Welder Rodney Davis is suing his former friend, meat cutter Rick Spruill, for the balance on a truck and for a false arrest. Rick says Rodney threatened to break his kneecaps.
Yeah, this is case number 542 on the calendar in the matter of Davis versus Spruill. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Mr. Davis, the defendant is your former wife's cousin.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
And you made the mistake of selling him a used truck. We don't do that with family. It's really pretty stupid because it's always trouble. You claim that you sold him the truck, I believe, for $3,500. He paid you $2,500. He was supposed to pay you the rest, and he didn't.
No, he did not.
So when you started to call him and wanted your money, he filed false charges against you, according to you, of telephone harassment, and you were arrested and had expenses. So you are suing him for two things. First, the balance owed on the truck, plus interest, because you agreed, according to you, to $200 in interest on the additional $1,000 that he owed, and the money that you spent and your aggravation as a result of these false harassment charges. Now, Mr. Spruill says that you were angry with him after you sold him your truck because he introduced your now ex-wife to her current present husband. And you got very angry with him. And then you told him you wanted more money for the truck. And you started to call him on the phone. And he filed these charges against you because they were true.
Correct.
When did you sell him the truck?
March of 2004, right around this time last year.
Do you have a bill of sale?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Why not?
Considering the fact that it was based on family word, we took it upon that and did the lousy mistake of not having one wrote up.
All right. March of 2004, he took possession of the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
And did he have the title to the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when for the first time did you call him and ask him for more money?
Approximately 1 month after I was having issues with my ex-wife.
Why don't you answer my question, Mr. Davis? When did you call him and tell him you wanted more money?
Approximately a month after I sold him the truck.
So in April. And what did you say to him when you called him in April?
I told him I needed the money. I did not appreciate what was going on between him and his litigations of owing me the money.
Well, according to you, when was he supposed to pay you the rest of the money?
Tax time this year when he received his refund.
So he had another year?
Yes, Your Honor.
So when you called him a month after he took possession of the truck, even according to you, that was not your contract?
No, it was not.
So you called him and you were angry?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what did you say to him when you called him?
This is on the 9th of July. I left him a message of how I thought of him through the whole allegation of everything.
Well, what did you say?
I told him I needed the money. I did not appreciate what he has done, trying to mediate between me and my ex-wife.
Mr. Davis is having some difficulty coming up with exactly what the message was. Mr. Spruill, you want to tell me what he said?
He said he would break my kneecap with a tire iron. That's a lie. I told him I would meet him halfway.
Told him to meet him halfway for what?
From all the threats that I have received from him, Mr. Spruill himself.
What threats did you receive from him?
I received threats from him of signing over my parental rights to my son, to his wife's cousin, and to never see him again.
Well, what do you mean threats? I don't hear a threat. You want to tell me what the threat was?
I'm not seeing my son ever again. I'm never paying the amount owed against the pickup.
Who is this?
This is my mother.
You're making it up as you're going along, Mr. Davis?
No, ma'am, I am not.
Yeah, you are. Now, when you said to him, according to you, I'll meet you halfway, I don't know what that means.
I was upset during that day because I missed a court date with my ex-wife.
You missed a court date?
I was not notified properly. I moved away from my address. The court sent the papers to that address. I was not there, and I was not informed of the court date.
Did you have an attorney?
No, I did not.
What was the court date for, Mr. Davis?
Child support.
Did they enter a support order?
Yes, they did, Your Honor.
For how much?
$255 a month. The actual court order is $225 for my son. Rearages of $1,742.
Okay, so you have an order that you didn't pay.
Yes, yes, I did.
Well, $225 a month is not an unusually high support order. Mr. Davis, why were you upset?
I had a previous relationship, and I'm paying an enormous amount of money for my daughter.
Well, what are you mad at your ex-wife for? She's not getting an enormous amount of money. She's getting $50 a week. What were you annoyed at them for? You were just generally annoyed.
Generally annoyed to the fact that what has happened, Mr. Screville was trying to mediate between us as I try to reconcile and get back with my ex-wife.
She didn't want to get back with you.
No, she did not.
Got to be a reason.
There was a reason.
So after he told you he was going to break your kneecaps with a tire iron, you called the police?
Correct.
You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Mr. Davis, you have 2 children?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, according to the police report, your former wife says that you were upset with the defendant because you hold him responsible for breaking up the marriage. However, in all fairness, your ex-wife did say that she didn't think that you would carry out those threats.
I would not. I admit I was...
Shh, just a second. Well, you admitted to the police, Mr. Davis, that you told the defendant that you'd break his other leg if he didn't pay you. And you also said that you knew that you shouldn't have threatened him and that you had no intention of carrying out the threat. So you admitted to the police that you threatened bodily harm to the defendant. So you cannot sue him for filing false charges against you. He doesn't have to interpret whether or not you meant it or not, or whether you had a bad day. You have to keep your temper.
Understood, Your Honor.
Good. So that part of your complaint is dismissed. Now let's get to the truck. I read your answer very carefully. Your answer says that you gave Mr. Davis another $1,000.
Yes.
When?
I sent him another $1,000 on 1/22 of 05.
Can I see the check, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you send him the check?
Because he threatened to bring my father-in-law into the lawsuit with this letter that he sent to my father-in-law.
I'd like to see it.
And I just wanted to keep the peace.
Why didn't you take his check, sir?
That was not agreed upon. $1,200 was agreed upon by this time.
No, sir. That wasn't your agreement, Mr. Davis. Your agreement, according to you, was that he would give you the other $1,000 plus $200 interest by tax time 2005. That's what you told me. He was paying you early. Isn't that what you told me? You want to say something? For what?
Because I'm the reason that he sent the check back, because I thought it was wrong. He should have been $1,200.
Why don't you just keep it zipped?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your son has a little bit of a temper, and he's going through a very difficult time. And what you're not supposed to do is exacerbate it if you're his mother. And if you're the reason that he sent back this $1,000 check, you're not a very smart mother.
And later today,
I reached into the purse to find the pawn ticket. Instead, I came out with a Ziploc bag full of little dime bags of marijuana.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rodney Davis says former friend Rick Spruill owes for the balance on a truck and for having him falsely arrested.
You're supposed to be a peacemaker, not a troublemaker. Peacemaker, not a troublemaker. Your son has a little bit of a temper, and he's going through a very difficult time. He made 2 babies. He's got to support them. It's very hard to take care of 3 families when you're one person. He felt as if everything was piling on him, and he went through a very bad period in his life. And what you're not supposed to do is exacerbate it if you're his mother. And if you're the reason that he sent back this $1,000 check because you thought it should have been $1,200, you're not a very smart mother.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Here.
Right.
Well, I felt it was wrong that Rick got the truck for half of what it was worth. We went through a really hard year with all this telephone harassment. I know Rick, and Rod's ex-wife called our house when he was staying there lots of times.
What does that have to do with sending back the check and being a troublemaker?
Okay, so if he gets the truck for half of what it's worth.
No. Your son made a deal. Your son made a contract. He's an adult. He's not 16 years old. He's a grown man who made 2 babies. Now, there's a piece of me that believes him that he made an agreement to sell this truck for $3,500, and maybe he made the agreement to, if he wasn't paid up in 6 months, he was going to charge him an extra $200 in interest. In any event, the whole matter could have been resolved because he gave him a check for $1,000, and he gave him the check for $1,000 before the amount was due. He gave him the check in January, and he wasn't supposed to pay him until April. That's what your son just told me. So you're supposed to be a peacemaker, not a troublemaker. You're supposed to say, listen, take the check, put a period.
I should have.
Let's try to make peace. I have a grandchild that I want to be able to see. I have a baby that I don't want to lose, instead of being a troublemaker. Now you get it? Good. Just do me a favor. Give him the check. He gets the check. I suggest, Mr. Davis, that you cash it.
Yes,
because
ma'am.
that's all you're getting.
Understood.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The most frustrating part about it is he lied and he got away with it.
I think he's upset about the family, the loss of his family.
I just hope issues can be resolved.
Let's hope.
यार नासिर किवें हाल है नासिर ओए नासिर यार नासिर यार मैं तो कोई दे थड़े ना बेटा तू ये ना नहीं आते मुर्दार है ना कुछ साढ़े पे आवा मैं यार वो बेफारम वाक्या खत्म थी के नहीं होंडा साल ने जरा बाल तले वे उंदे ही नहीं वो उत्ते वाले ने कहें नहीं वो तस्वीरें लाजिम खबर आई पी है यार उन्हें के होन जरे ना तस्वीर वाला बेफारम चल सी बस बाकी नहीं चलते वो जेरे 10 साल उत्ते पहले वाले जेरे भी बनाई पे सारे कैंसल कर देते ने मैडा फायदा कर देते ने मैं हो निकले छुआर को चाहिए सा मैं हुन विंजड़े ना वो जरा फिरोद है वो को चाहिए सा तेरे नए दे फोटो छिकवैया सा मैडा काम थिया वैसी वो वड्डे दा चलो कई साले मसला कहीं नहीं हाँ भला हुन क्या बनसी ऐ रानू हाँ ओए रानू ये हुन गई नहीं भी बचदा है हुन वो किडे कीता अभी मेरा जवान किडे गया था घर बताए लब वैसी मैं कहूँ अच्छा चलो हिम्मत है ये तो हाल इन्हें मर का हाँ ये पोजीशन है सारे मुल्क दी ये हाल हवाल है ये मज़ाया अच्छा क्या कोई हाल हवाल दा खैरे फिटो खरीत है तबियत शायद ठीक है कम कार दा हाल से लगा पई कम को ना ठीक है हाँ संगा सा दा हाल से संगा सारी ठीक है काम कितना करे ना पई काम शाम इन कहे नहीं किमें हाल है काम दा निज़ाम चंगा चलता पे ना ठीक है हाल हवाल है ना अच्छा वद्दा हाँ ये नहीं बचदा ये वेद है हाँ दा ये हाल हकीकत ये हाल हवाल है ना दा ब्या ये कम शम जेरे ना दा लगे पे हूँ हौले डाडे इतना काम ने बगैर मज़ा नहीं आता काम ज़रूरी है हाँ अच्छा हाँ मोहम्मद किवें हाल है तेरा मोहम्मद किवें हाल है तेरी सारी यारी दी बस है मोहम्मद हुण यारी ख़त्म करे ना पिया मैं तेरे नाल मोहम्मद हुण ਆ ਯਾਰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹਾਲ ਹੈ ਚਲੋ ਤੂੰ ਕਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਸਲਾ ਕਹੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੈਸੇ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਰੱਖੀ ਪਿਆ ਯਾਰ ਓਏ मैं कटे सी तो मैं कट गिनसा वाला खल्ले ही गुजरान को यार बहुत हाल अच्छा यार ठीक है चलो वाला या गाल मां ही करे सा कोई मसला कहे नहीं वाला मैं डुवावणी के तक वैसे क्यों यार सच्चे नहीं तले यार ते यार चाचा के जा बंदा रलाए तू यार चाचा
चलो चार तो ही डाल देते काम
केनते सच्चे ने मैं चाइना दे दवा ये कुछ स्कूल ने भी पहुँचाया एक स्कूल पहुँचा रहे में आए स्कूल तो पढ़े आ कम अज कम स्कूल ने लुकिया वधाए स्कूल ने तो लुकिया वधाई स्कूल ते लावना